What drives someone to change the world? Welcome to Social Trailblazers, where we seek to answer just that question. Join Kelly Hernandez, CEO of Nonprofit Marketing Nerds, as she interviews leading social innovators and nonprofit changemakers. This podcast is brought to you by DonorBox, the easiest way for nonprofits to rock their online donations.
I'm so excited to welcome this week's episode of Social Trailblazers guest, Joanne Toller, who is the founder of The Cause Specialist, and really, if you're in the nonprofit space, is one of the most impactful thought leaders when it comes to nonprofit marketing and fundraising. In this episode, Joanne shares the behind the scenes of her life, including her mostly full-time RVing, her work with animal rescue, and what got her to where she is today, which is really a nonprofit industry thought leader and one of the most kind humans I've had the privilege of meeting through the internet that's become a friend. Don't worry, guys. I did take this time to not only learn more about Joanne, but to get some great practical advice for nonprofits when it comes to monthly giving, use of AI, and how to really level up your organization's fundraising events. I'm so excited to welcome this week's Social Trailblazer, Joanne Toller, the Cause Specialist. Joanne, I have to confess, as I'm a huge fan of yours, so I'm doing a little fangirl. So thank you so much for coming on Social Trailblazers and talking a little bit about not just all the great work you do for nonprofits and educating nonprofits, but a little about you as a human. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. And it's funny you say that because I feel the same way about you on social media. That's how we met. And then we got to know each other. And you're lovely.
Oh, I feel the same.
Speaking of humans.
Yeah. I think it's such a cool space, especially nonprofit. There's so many people doing great work and for the right reasons. And and you can just tell, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So speaking of, and I hope it's okay to kind of ask, I know you have been doing a lot of different work in the nonprofit space, but most people that know you as yourself and for the Cause Specialist. What is the Cause Specialist and what caused you to launch it?
All right. Well, here's a story. I was in my very early 20s. I was working in the corporate world for a fellow it was a tech startup. We were pioneering online database technology, and he was younger than me and he was a bit of a jerk. And I kind of had one of those emotional moments where I hucked my keys at him. I said, I quit. That's it. I'm out. Yes. And then realized, I don't have a job. So my aunt said, come and work with me. And that's how I got introduced into the nonprofit sector. And it just took off. It was at a time where I could consult. I could work for a bunch of different organizations, and it just launched from there. And I feel like I've never worked a day in my life now.
And that's the beauty of the work we do, I think. But that's fascinating. So what was your aunt doing at the time? How did you initially start? Tell me a little more.
She was working for a nonprofit. She was one of the first CFREs in my hometown, and she was an amazing fundraiser. So when she said, come and work, I'm putting on this gala. And then that turned into, all right, well, I need you as a fundraising assistant. And then it led to her introducing me to other organizations, dragging me to networking functions. And then she was so supportive that when I did start getting contracts, she's like, go fly free, and kept introducing me to more people and mentors. And then I became a CFRE, and yeah, she's always been my hero.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you said it was 30 years ago. How long ago was that when you started?
30 years ago. Yep.
Oh, wow. And I love, you and I both have stories about, you said chucking keys. I have a story where I turned in my resignation letter the first day someone started, right? Nope, not doing this.
Yeah. Well, and you hear this a lot in the nonprofit sector about some managers can be, it's not like they do the leadership training that a lot of corporations will put you through. How do you motivate your team? How do you inspire them? How do you lead with passion and purpose? It's more micromanaging, and I've heard some nightmares. So Yeah, there is the dark side as well of the humans.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I think Joanne and I need to like do a whole separate episode about like, it's so prevalent in the nonprofit space that practitioners, right, get elevated into leadership roles, but are never trained on leadership.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
No,
well, that's for another episode.
Okay.
So I know you mentioned that you spent 30 years and it doesn't feel like a day of work. Like what gives you joy in the work you do?
Meeting all of the incredible people. I have a rule that if I get that that little sense that they're not a good human, they're not doing this for the right reasons, I won't take the contract. And therefore, I end up working with these people that are just, so I have one client right now who has transitioned from being client to actually, I can't say his name, but to being uncle his name, right? We've just gotten so attached. Yeah. And lots that I've stayed friends with and that light me up and inspire me and make me laugh. And yeah.
Oh, cool. What a, I don't think a privilege like that takes a lot of, guts on your end. If any of the listeners are other nonprofit consultants, right? It takes a lot of guts on your end to set those boundaries of who to say yes to and who to say no to. Do you mind sharing about maybe a time where you had to learn to set those boundaries? I'm sure 30 years hasn't always been that way.
Yeah. Okay. So there was one meeting we were in, and I had a business partner at the time who I'm still besties with, and we still work together. But the chair made her cry, and I felt like I wanted to just go across the table. Like she was so mean to her, and she does amazing work. And it was at that point that we decided that's it. In fact, we walked into a meeting a few weeks later. We both spun around, walked out, phoned one of our competitors and said, "Would you like this contract?" Then we get a call from him a few weeks later saying, "Thanks, ladies." It was a nightmare for him, but we knew it. We could feel it.
Yeah. Well, good for you for setting those boundaries. And how many years ago was that for you?
That would have been back in about 2004, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm hoping, and I'm going to glean that as a lesson learned from you right now, Joanne, if that's okay, about setting those boundaries. Because I think most people want to find joy in the work they do. Yeah. One thing you don't talk about a lot, I know my video editor is a huge fan of your YouTube studio, and I kind of recognize the woodwork. And I know that sounds crazy. I'm like,
that's a nice studio.
But can you tell us a little bit more about what is your studio?
It's an RV. We have property back home in Canada. I'm Canadian, but we spend 6 months a year down in the US. So we kind of made that decision that this is how we want to live. We want a snowbird, and we don't want to be locked into one place. So we just figured out how we're going to do it in a fifth wheel.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And for a lot of us in the nonprofit space, both nonprofit practitioners and consultants are big fans of yours. So we know your dogs, and it's yourself, and you have two larger dogs, correct?
I do. I kick them out so they wouldn't be barking. But yeah, we've got Mike and Sweet Pea. Yeah, both rescues. We love the special cases. Yeah.
Aw, okay, very cool. Well, thank you for sharing a little about your YouTube studio and location independent. How does that impact your work? You're traveling. You're in an RV. What does that look like?
Well, we actually debated going to Florida this winter because of a client that I have down there. When we were in Texas last year, and then I've got clients in North Carolina that I would love to go see. So it doesn't impact my work. I get same routine. I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, I check the socials, like your posts, and then get down to work, get the dogs out for a walk. It's a beautiful life.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And have you been able to visit? I know, you and I are both, right, location independent. And I haven't yet visited, gone on a trip to visit a client. Have you done that yet, where you've made an extended trip just to visit a client?
I have. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty neat thing to do. I usually do towards the end of a contract or people that, I have had business with. And it's nice. It's nice to meet people in person. Yeah, that's where this week I'm going to Florida, actually, just for a quick visit and to pick up a rescue parrot. So it's a rescue organization and we love the special cases. And so, yeah, I'm going to go for a visit and bring home a little special girl.
And are you keeping?
Yeah, we're going to keep her. Yeah, we don't know how long we'll have with her. She has an avian disease that she can't be with any other birds, and she's plucked out all her feathers. She had to have her tail amputated. She's been neglected all her life, and I just, what's a girl going to do besides say, "Come on"? Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by DonorBox, the online fundraising platform that streamlines your process, elevates your donations, and ensures a user-friendly experience for your supporters. Explore the world of simplified, seamless fundraising at donorbox.org today.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I will say, and I do appreciate you sharing some of the behind the scenes of your life, because I know for a lot of, I don't want to say fans, but I'm going to keep saying it, for a lot of us fans, like we're a little curious about like what's happening behind the scenes. And I've had the privilege of talking to you in person, virtually a couple times, and it's lovely to see someone who's very kind and ethical, really also helping nonprofits, but I think helping a lot of people just by being who you are and helping. What's the parrot's name?
Bella.
Bella. Oh, I love you, Bella.
Yeah, there are going to be so many videos of her on social media. You'll feel like you know her. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't wait to virtually meet Bella then. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. I do want to, really want to talk about you as a human, but I know so many people listening. You have such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to fundraising and marketing for nonprofits. And so I'm going to pick your brain a little bit, if that's okay, and get some free consulting advice while I have you. Okay. So I know for a lot of nonprofits, you talk to, and I, talk to a lot of founders. What pieces of advice would you give to a founding nonprofit or a startup nonprofit about like first steps with either marketing or fundraising?
Actually, your strategic plan or your business plan, it all kind of rolls out from that. If you know what it is that you want to accomplish as an organization and your strategy, how are you going to fund that? And then it turns into your fund development plan and who are your best supporters. And then that turns into the communications plan, because it's really hard to raise money when nobody's heard of you, and you have to be able to market your campaign. So I think strategic planning would be the number one thing. Have a plan, right? All businesses, successful businesses, they all have a plan. Successful nonprofits, they all have a plan.
Yeah. And I hate to say, I bet 25% of our listeners that are nonprofits either don't have an active strategic plan or it's sitting somewhere on a bookshelf, right?
Yep. Or on a paper napkin. I'll even take a paper napkin plan. That's fine. As long as it's, it's on paper somewhere.
Yeah. And so you mentioned, which I think is great, how to, you said it like it was so easy, but for a lot of, I think, nonprofit, especially practitioners going into leadership, like the whole, like, this is your grounding document that then informs everything else. If an organization is holding a strategic plan and they're like, now what do I do with it? Can you give me some free coaching on that? What do I do with it now that I have one?
So I have a program where we go through that, but we always start with looking at who your donors are. Like, what are those core people? So concentric circles, right? Rosso's concentric circles. I want them to sit down and I want to look at who's closest to your organization, who has that linkage, that interest and ability. Then move it out and okay, so who are the second level potential supporters? And then out to the universe. And then we can look at individual donors, all the types of campaigns, corporate donors, grants. How are we going to take all of these potentials and run campaigns that'll work with them? And then stewardship plans, and then a gift acceptance policy. Like, there's so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that concentric circles, though, for a lot of, I think, people, that first step is something, I know you probably have this all the time, where nonprofits come to you and they want to do, fundraising campaign, and they're just focused on all the people that don't even know or care about them yet, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's a great model for organizations to look at.
Yeah. Well, and just like in marketing, we work from personas as well. So what would interest them? So if say I have an animal rescue and my primary supporters are older adults, like seniors, I'm not going to run a fun run for pets. I might do a pet costume party or something like that, right? So just really aligning our donors' interests with what it is that our fundraising campaigns.
Okay. And I know that you talk about events and fundraising events a little. I will confess that even though we do a lot of marketing for events, I still have event burnout from like galas and events. What recommendations, and I know for a lot of listeners, they feel the same way. What do you see as, I'm going to go, what do you see as the future of fundraising events for especially mid-sized nonprofits?
Well, the events just make me cringe because I did start my career with my auntie doing a lot of events and I got burnout too. Yeah. But I think that incorporating all of the new digital technology. So I actually have this very old from 2001 event planning template that goes through everything that you need to do for a fundraising event. So I pulled it out to send to a client and I'm looking at it realizing, wow, this is outdated. There's nothing about the online registration and capturing those people and sending the opt-ins and then the email journey that goes with it and getting the virtual components to your event. And I was just at an event yesterday about Click and Pledges launching their new Zoom fundraising thing. So huge potential there, like all of these new tools and technologies that are out there that we didn't have so long ago. So I would say tapping into those, really looking at all of the opportunities that are out there to bring digital into your in-person events.
Yeah. And I was just at a gala where I'm such a take the, especially at a high-end gala, take the donation envelope, make sure it's sitting on the chair or physically handed to everyone. So you make sure they're going to have it. And I was just at a high-end gala that did pretty well that only had one QR code on the screen. And that was the only way you could donate. Well, yeah. That was wild to me even. I guess I am a little old school. What are your feelings on that?
No, I love that. I absolutely love that. QR codes are a big part of fundraising nowadays. So yeah, there's so many different opportunities, but I think if I had one thing to say about events, and that would be pair it with your mission. So really, and again, remembering your constituents, because galas tend to work if you have that particular type of clientele. So you have more senior donors that like to do that. You have a lot of companies that want to do it as a networking event. But if you have a bunch of younger donors or donors that maybe you haven't really connected with all that well, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I, for the first time ever at a gala, got stuck at these people aren't going to give more table. And I'm like, they know me so well. I am a younger person, not totally connected to this mission. I'm like, okay, that's funny. Yeah.
No.
So one of the things that, again, if people are listening and they're like, who is Joanne? I think if you're in the nonprofit space and trying to get any information about anything related to fundraising and marketing, everyone knows your face and your voice, and you're so helpful to so many, not just with your courses and programming, but with all your free content on YouTube. It's honestly, I think even as a nonprofit YouTuber, you're the number one resource to go to.
Thank you.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things you talk about that you break down so well in a lot of your videos is monthly giving as a tool. I think it's the perfect probably combination of your passion for marketing and expertise in marketing and fundraising. For nonprofits, a lot of nonprofits don't have monthly giving programs. What are the top considerations you think for them to should they do a monthly giving program or not? What should they be thinking about?
I think your database is going to tell you that. Really, the data will tell you. If you have a ton of repeat donors who've been giving over the last couple of years, and you've got that list of prospective monthly donors, then yeah, definitely go for it. Yeah, launch a campaign around that. But if you're a new nonprofit and you're still struggling to get in just a few donors, then it's probably not time. Definitely have that option on your form, on your online giving form. But to launch an official program, you might want to focus a little bit more on stewardship and cultivation first.
Okay. And then you've already talked a lot about, well, we've been talking for 18 minutes. You've mentioned a couple times going back into your database, look at the numbers. And, I think for a lot of listeners, they're probably like, oh, we don't really do that. We just think of activities and events. And so you talked about for monthly givers. Can you tell me a little bit more about what does it look like in the data if someone shouldn't launch a monthly giving program?
So I would start by pulling, it depends on the database you're using. I'm a big fan. You get what you pay for with databases. So I would be using one where I can query it and say, all right, give me a list of all of the donors who have donated repeatedly over this amount of time, say 3 years. Maybe I want a gift amount thrown in there so that I can look through it and say, and in some platforms even have AI baked into them now that will do this for you. But I like to go through and look at it and then see how many I can pull. If I can pull, at least, gosh, even 10. Even if there's some really good donors in there that would make a good prospect, I'll pull those and then make a plan for how I'm going to approach them. And that's also very donor specific too. Who are these humans that we're going to approach? What would be the best way to approach them to give monthly?
Awesome. Well, thank you for the free consulting advice that I probably should have paid you for.
I do it all the time.
So you mentioned AI on the back end of some donor management systems. How else do you think technology and data and the future of technology and data are going to shape the nonprofit sector?
We're very slow to adopt. So I would hope that nonprofits begin to embrace all of this data, embrace AI, but I really don't see a lot of pickup happening. And unfortunately, what I do see is a lot of people throwing stuff into a language model, spitting out some copy, posting it without editing it. And then people like me come along who can spot it a mile away. So I would hope that in the future of fundraising that we can really get tech savvy about it all and take advantage of it to its full potential. I hope so too. And I'm laughing because I'm like, I just keep seeing all the ChatGPT outputs with emojis everywhere. Right? And the colons, it does that a lot. It does, you can spot it. There's certain things it does that you can spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you use AI at all?
I do. Oh, most definitely. I do. Yeah. Yeah. It saves me a ton of time, but I also prime my models and make sure that it has that voice and that content that I want. So even right down to, I have a social media caption generator that I use in GPT that just knows my language, and it speeds up the process, but I always humanize. I always look at it, humanize, edit, and make sure that it is what I want it to say. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I just had a meeting with my business coach today and was showing him, I was really, I'm a big anti-fan, but kind of a fan of Grant Cardone. Like I love to hate him, kind of. Do you know who that is?
No. Who is it?
He's big on like setting 10x goals. So whatever your goal should be, set 10 times more goals. And you would never tell a nonprofit, right? You want to fundraise $100,000, go for $1 million, right? Like that's his messaging for businesses. And I tend to think, anyway, so I primed my ChatGPT to give my business a strategic plan and Grant Cardone framework. And I'm like, this is good. Like, I've given them enough inputs and I'm like, like this is a great strategic plan for my business. Grant Cardone style.
Yeah, no, it can. There's a lot of things that it can really help with, even prospect research. I've used it to go in and ask about a particular funder, and just give me all of the information. I've done it for clients too. Tell me about this person. Yeah.
Thank you for that tip. I've never used it that way before. That's wild. Okay.
Nonprofit and association leaders, I've got a secret weapon for you. Imagine sitting down for just 30 minutes, yes, 30, and walking away with a treasure chest of marketing gold. Polished videos, scroll-stopping reels, compelling blogs, and share-worthy social posts. That's the Content Lab, where our team of marketing nerds transforms your mission into magic. You bring your expertise, and we'll handle the rest. Ready to feel like a marketing wizard? Visit nonprofit-nerd.com and check out the Content Lab. Type discount 200 at checkout to grab your $200 discount. Limited time only. Catch you in the lab. The Content Lab.
First, I want to thank you so much for your time. One thing you don't talk about a lot is that you're actually a nonprofit founder yourself. Can you share a little bit about why you started your nonprofit memorial fund?
That one always punches me in the face. But yeah, I had my oldest daughter was a victim of domestic homicide about 6 years ago, and it wasn't just her. He had 5 days later, because she was missing for 5 days, and 5 days later he killed his parents and the dog and stabbed her dog, and just it was horrific. And I had a lot of people, because I've worked in the sector and have a lot of community and friends, everyone wanted to do something. So I just said, look, just throw all this money that you guys want to donate into a fund through our local community foundation, and we'll figure out where we're going to donate it later. And then we ended up rolling it into an endowment fund. Everyone supported that, and it became an endowment fund. So every year, we donate a portion of the funds to charities that support either, intimate partner violence, addiction, because he was, their addiction was part of the thing. We were all trying to get him into treatment before this happened. Or mental health too, because he was struggling with mental health. And so that sort of became that. But it's been interesting because now I'm on the other side of it. I'm on the giving side of it. And that's kind of nice.
And who did you, I have to confess that I did look to see who gave to, but who have you most recently given to in terms of nonprofits? And how has that impacted you as a giver, right? You're usually on the nonprofit side of things, on the other side of things.
Yeah. Well, we were... to be honest, if I had to do it over again, but I didn't have the emotional capacity, I'd want more control rather than using a community foundation. So we have to give locally in my hometown in Calgary. But we've supported a lot of different things. Women escaping sexual exploitation was last year, which there's an addiction component in there. So we wanted to go there. Another women's shelter that actually takes in men. We like that one. There was the Humane Society in our area that has a program that will take animals for women escaping domestic violence, because a lot of them, like my daughter, didn't want to leave because of the dog.
Right.
So, yeah.
Wow. And I know, you do, and I think anyone that has any experience with you knows what a heart-centered, mission-centered person you are as a human. And I know it sounds like you've put that money that was donated to great use and will continue to, right? It's endowed. It sounds like you're going, oh no, I already forgot the parrot's name. What's the parrot's name?
Bella, yeah.
Bella. Okay. And you're acting like it's no big deal. Like, oh, I'm just going to Florida to pick up Bella. Like, that is a huge, I don't want to say sacrifice, but like that is real mission commitment to a cause, right?
Yeah.
And
we really try.
Yeah. And is there anything else on the horizon for you outside of the cause specialists in terms of nonprofit engagement and Or is there another animal you might bring in that you haven't told us about?
No, I'm not allowed to. No, really just waiting for grandkids. That's my next big adventure. I want grandbabies. And I've told my kids, we will come home when you give us babies. So
I love that. Do they feel pressure?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And you kind of mentioned at the beginning, and I do hope I'm so excited to meet you in person. We're both location independent. I'm like, I'm going to go see where you're going to be. You said you're a snowbird, so you're working and while traveling or moving south, correct?
Yeah. No, we leave tomorrow for Las Vegas, and I'm going to be working in the morning, and then we'll leave in the afternoon. So no, it's working while we're traveling, except in the truck because I'll get car sick.
Oh no, I tried to work from trains when we were in Europe, and I thought that would be a great idea. And I'm like, no,
I can't get anything done when we're actually physically moving. No.
Well, and you have a large truck too, so so there's like lots of windows, right? It's just like the motion constantly.
No, I'll get sick.
Well, I will encourage. I think for a lot of people that are listening, they are. Like I am a huge fan of yours, and you really have put a huge impact on our entire sector. So I want to thank you. I think I don't want to say who's the most impactful, but people are impactful in different ways, but I would terms like the nonprofit sector as a whole, like you're the most impactful social trailblazer I've had on. So thank you for all you do. I know you might feel like it's not a big deal when you're, just recording them and putting them out and you're in your RV and you're going to your next wonderful location. But I think for so many nonprofit organizations, you really do come alongside and guide them. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I spent my whole life in the sector, and yeah.
And I know for people are, it's probably going to be very rare that people need this information. But for those people that are listening that don't already know where to find you, where can people follow you and the cause specialists?
Probably our website, because that has all of our socials on it. And I have some resources on there too, like some free downloads, and any course information is on there. My contact information is on there. Yeah, no, I'm always happy to talk to nonprofits. It feels good after working in the corporate world for that very short amount of time where I lost it. It just feels good when you're banging your head against your desk. It's for a good cause. Right? It's all good.
Awesome. Well, Joanne, thank you again so much for your time, and we cannot wait to meet Bella.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Social Trailblazers. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who are passionate about making a difference. Special thanks to our sponsor, DonorBox, for supporting this podcast and the incredible work of nonprofits everywhere. Join us next time as we continue to dive deep into the motivations of the change makers shaping our world. Until then, keep trailblazing.